All right, so let's talk about getting clients. If you've ever felt like it's just a game of chance, a random mix of tactics and just plain luck, then this is for you. We're going to break down a really powerful framework that flips client acquisition from a hopeful gamble into an actual engineered process, one that gives you predictable, repeatable results. Let's dive in. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big idea, the customer's journey. Then we'll get super practical and talk about defining the destination, building your vehicle, which is your offer, and then engineering the engine that makes the whole thing run. We'll even cover the fuel you need to scale up before we tie it all together into one powerful, unified framework. Okay, first things first, we have to start with the absolute foundation. And it's this. At its core, your business doesn't just sell a product or a service. Nope. What you are really selling is a transformation. Just take a look at this. This simplifies the entire reason your business exists. Your customer is stuck at point A. That's their current, maybe not so great reality. And they want, more than anything, to get to point B, a much happier, better future. That dotted line, that's the line of stagnation. That's what happens if they do nothing. They're stuck, or even worse, they're sliding backwards. Your whole business, your entire reason for being, is to be that arrow, bridging the gap from A to B. And here is the secret sauce. Your offer's value is directly tied to the size of that gap. Your job in sales and marketing isn't just to talk about your solution, it's to change their perception. You have to paint an incredibly vivid picture of how amazing point B is, while also gently reminding them of the pain of staying at point A. The wider you make that perceived gap, the more urgency and desire you create. So we get the journey, but now we have to get laser focused on the destination. Because if you don't know exactly where your customer wants to go, there is no way you can build the right vehicle to take them there. And this Warren Buffett quote, it just nails it. You can roll as hard as you possibly can, but if you're in the wrong boat, you're not going anywhere. Success isn't just about effort. It's about choosing the right foundation from the very beginning, the right market, and the right problem to solve. And that foundation, that perfect boat, it's built on these three anchors. One niche, one problem, and one solution. Why so specific? Because complexity is the absolute enemy of scale. When you focus on just one combination, you build deep, specialized expertise. You become the go-to expert, the heart surgeon, not the family doctor. And that is how you get to charge premium prices. And listen, when you're defining that destination, you have to dig so much deeper than just making more money. That's not a destination. It's just a vague direction. What does that money actually unlock for them? Is it the pride of being able to retire their parents? Is it that deep down desire to finally break away from the pack and prove they're not mediocre? Or is it something as simple and profound as being able to play catch with their son in the backyard without a single worry about work? You connect your solution to that feeling and your offer becomes unstoppable. Okay, so we know the journey and we've defined the destination. Now it's time to build the perfect vehicle to get them there. Let's talk about crafting your offer. This is probably my favorite analogy of all. You're not selling a bridge. A bridge is boring. It's a static commodity. No, you are selling a boat, a vehicle. And this boat doesn't just promise they'll get to the destination, it promises a specific experience. How fast is the journey? How safe will they feel? How easy is it to operate? That whole package, that is your offer. And boom, this slide just says it all. You don't sell SEO. SEO is a commodity. It's the technical specs of the boat's engine. What you sell is a proven system that books inbound sales calls. See the difference? One is a boring feature. The other is the dream destination itself. You're selling the arrival, not the mechanics of the ride. So this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Your customer is standing on their island, looking out at the water, and they see a dozen different boats, all promising to take them to their dream island. Why on earth should they choose yours? How do you build that trust and make your offer the only logical choice? Well, it really boils down to three things. First, you take your features and you position them as pain reducers. A V-shaped hull becomes a hull designed for a smooth, comfortable ride, even in choppy water. Second, you create a guarantee so powerful, so ironclad, that it removes every last shred of risk. It's not just a refund, it's the lifeboat and the rescue helicopter all in one. And finally, you give it a unique name, something that wraps up that entire promise. All right, so our vehicle is designed. It's irresistible. But now we need to build the engine that actually powers this thing. This is the system that delivers on your promises, predictably and consistently. This right here is where we stop being an artist and start being an engineer. A business that runs by chance just hopes for clients. It relies on luck. But a business that runs by design, it builds a machine that produces them. We're moving away from random actions and toward a real system with predictable inputs and, most importantly, predictable outputs.
I absolutely love this analogy. I want you to picture your entire process for getting a client as a row of slot machines in a casino. Each machine is one step: making contact, getting a reply, booking a call. Now, your job is not to be the gambler, pulling the lever and praying for a jackpot. No, your job is to be the engineer who goes behind the machines and rigs every single one to pay out in your favor.
And this is where it all becomes simple math. Each of those slot machines has a win rate. Maybe 20% of people reply, of those, maybe 40% are interested, and so on. When you multiply those individual probabilities together, you get your total system conversion rate. In this case, it's 1%. And just like that, you've turned total chaos into predictable math. You now know that for every 100 people you put in the top, you get one booked call at the bottom. Now you can actually forecast your growth.
So our engine is built, it's predictable, it works. The big question now is, how do we get it to go faster? Well, it's simple. We need fuel.
So here is the absolute secret to explosive growth. Once your engine is running, the fastest way to scale isn't spending months trying to nudge your conversion rate from 1% to 1.1%. Forget that. It's to dramatically increase the volume of fuel you pour in. Just look at the math on the screen. A 1% system with 1,000 inputs gets you 10 clients. A much better 5% system with only 100 inputs, it only gets you 5. Volume is the ultimate lever for scale. And you're probably thinking, okay, great, but how do I actually get that kind of volume? Well, you use tools and methods designed specifically for it. We're talking about things like LinkedIn outreach, using Expandy, sourcing B2B contact info with Prospeo, or even scraping local business data with tools like Outscraper. The technology is out there to feed your engine at a massive scale. All right, let's bring it all home. We've talked about the journey, the vehicle, the engine, and the fuel. Now let's see how it all clicks together into one beautiful, unified system. This diagram just ties it all together perfectly. Look at that. A complete stranger, an input, enters the system on the left. They move through each of your processes, each of your rigged slot machines, and what pops out on the other side? A predictable output, a booked appointment with a qualified prospect. It's a machine. So to wrap it all up, just remember these 4 core parts. You have the journey, that's your why, the transformation you provide. You have the vehicle, that's your what, your irresistible offer. You have the engine, that's your how, your predictable conversion system. And finally, you have the fuel, that's the action, the high-volume input that makes the whole thing roar to life. So I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. Every single business has a client acquisition engine of some kind. The real question is, was yours built by accident, just sort of happening by chance? Or was it deliberately and brilliantly engineered by you? The choice is yours.